Welcome back to the KO'd Convo, and I know it's been a while between episodes, but we finally got a guest back on, fellow member of the 49er Faithful, creator of the 49ers Rush podcast, Mr. John Chapman. John, how are you, my friend?
Man, I could not be any better. It's weird because it doesn't matter the time of year. We don't have football being played for a while. We're here, March. But I freaking love it, man. We got draft just over 4 weeks away, and the 49ers making so many moves in free agency. This is awesome. I freaking love how the NFL calendar has turned into a full year slate, and glad to be here talking with you, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're definitely going to dive into that free agency because it was almost like a masterclass, if you will, by the Niners of just getting everything they needed, sticking to the basics, and now they can really do whatever they want. But I want to start off with you because you have your own podcast, the 49ers Rush podcast. How did that get started? What really was that creative spark for you that really got the podcast going?
So I am a former high school football coach from Dallas, Texas. I've born and raised in Texas, but love the 49ers ever since a young age. I had a stepdad I didn't like that was a terrible Cowboys fan, so drove me to the 49ers. But I had to get out of coaching because of some family situations. And, man, I had this, passion and love for football after, a decade of coaching. And I was like, man, let's just do something fun and talk football. And it's kind of, man, here we are in year 5 now. And yeah, the 49ers Rush podcast is growing like crazy. You can find us anywhere. YouTube probably the best place because when we go live, it's like a TV channel. We break down film and all those different things. But yeah, man, just talking football. There's not a lot of better things to do with your time, in my own opinion. It's an absolute blast. You meet awesome people like yourself. I love it.
Yeah, and I think obviously how we got connected was the 49ers Twitterverse, which is pretty active and pretty hysterical, pretty entertaining at times. Just the way people, the way everyone turns on people so quickly, and Jimmy G or not Jimmy G, all this other stuff. But let's just go right into the free agency part of it. I mean, just perfect execution by John Lynch. What would you think was the most important move and that you were waiting on and really got them going?
I think it starts with Trent Williams, Silverback himself. Anybody that, there's a few key positions. Quarterback's probably the most paramount for sure. But after that, it's edge rusher and left tackle, right tackle. Those are kind of the 4 key spots. And so to lock up Trent Williams for, it's essentially, it's a 6-year deal, but it's really 2 3-year deals separated if you want to dive into the cap. But basically being able to protect your quarterback, which Jimmy Garoppolo has been injured more often than not. There's a lot of doubt with Jimmy Garoppolo, but it doesn't matter who quarterback is. If you can't protect them, they're not going to be efficient. So that was huge. Came down to the Chiefs and the 49ers, which Chiefs have kind of been the runners up in a lot of these huge free agency tickets. But the 49ers to lock up Trent Williams was just gigantic. And, probably one of the things that people don't talk about very much, the restructuring of Dee Ford's contract, probably going to be number 2 for me, because they were able to free up almost $11 million cap money in 2021 to go get all these other guys, because they brought back almost everybody. And that would not have taken place if Dee Ford wouldn't have been, if he was selfish, he would have just kept the money for himself, spread that out, gave up some cash big time in 2021 to help the team out. And I think that was huge.
And you also got sort of like a safety net, if you will, for Dee Ford and Samson Ebukam, who I think was a phenomenal pickup. Just amazing. I think the best things for me obviously were, as you said, the corners. I mean, keeping at least one of the 2, because we all know Richard Sherman. I mean, he said it in the beginning. He just wants too much and we can't get him. But I've always been a huge fan of Mosley, and Verrett in the past year really stood out. And when he's not injured, he's a not top tier, but he's number 1 corner. Which is pretty substantial. So two starting quarterbacks locked up. Who knows? We might get one of the top corners at 12 if certain is still available. You never know.
Yeah, there's still some work to be done at that position. You bring back your three starters, Mosley, Verrett outside, K'Wan Williams, they just signed recently, going to be that nickel cornerback. But after those three guys, there's zero depth. And two of those three starters are one-year deals. So I'm with you. I think cornerback is still one of the biggest needs for this team this year and long term, because we know the 49ers get a lot of injuries. If one guy goes down, it's bare. That cupboard is bare right after that. So there's still some addressing for that position for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, just watching last year, it was torture almost when MetLife came about and their horrible turf field and
week 2, man. Oh, it hurts.
Week two. But I mean, we did lose obviously like players like Solomon Thomas, excuse me, who, I mean, I guess we could have afforded to lose at that point because our D-line is so strong anyways. I do think Javon Kinlaw really picks it up this next year. I mean, he's got a year under his belt, and I just think he's going to be a stud.
It's interesting, the Javon Kinlaw talk, because there's two tales here, right? If you look at the box scores and you see the low sack numbers and you're just like, oh, he wasn't that good. But whenever you watch the film, a big reason why Fred Warner had that all-pro year, his career year thus far, it's all because of Big 99 in front of him, taking up all those double teams, not getting pushed back at all. You just said Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas, the reason why he was not successful and has not been successful is he cannot maintain his gap integrity in the run game. He gets pushed all over the place. So much so that not only did the 49ers choose not to pick up his fifth-year option, we didn't make a qualifying offer for him to return. Neither did Robert Saleh and the Jets. They didn't reach out to Solomon Thomas at all either. He goes to the Raiders, and I hope that he gets, his game on track. Amazing human being, Solomon Thomas. He just, whenever you're the number 3 overall pick and you have twice as many penalties as you have sacks in 4 years, you got to fix some issues.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to the Raiders now, and there's always been a common thread of 49ers going over to the Raiders. Good old Aldon Smith. You remember him?
Oh, man. Yeah, and he didn't get picked up. He just found out recently the Cowboys are not going to be bringing him back for 2021. So he's a free agent now as well.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. The NFL is just it's a crazy world. Sticking with the defense, though, obviously you mentioned Fred Warner. Him and Dre Greenlaw, what do you believe their ceiling is if they have one?
I am the self-proclaimed president of the Dre Greenlaw fan club.
That's why that tweet is pinned at the top of your profile.
I can't change it, man. I can't change it. I got 2 boys, and, they both play football and all that kind of stuff. And it's huge because Dre Greenlaw is every bit as good off the field as he is on. Clean. His ceiling it's crazy because he never misses tackles. He covers very, very well in the field. Whenever you talk about the big plays that he made against Seattle, you go back to the 2019 year, we don't get that first round bye without that stop at the goal line, let alone his interception of Russell Wilson earlier in the year. Like, he just shows up at the biggest moments. So you talk about a 1-2 punch. You could put Tampa Bay in that category with Levante David, and the White. They have some great linebackers. There's lots of good linebacker play in the NFL, but there is no 1-2 punch at the linebacker position that you would choose over the 49ers. You could say they're in the same area, but the sky is the limit there. You bringing in D'Amico Ryans from the linebackers coach to the, now DC. They're so young, both on rookie deals. I'm so excited about this linebacker core. This defense is going to be good. And it's a testament to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan loving what the D did and bringing everybody back, almost everybody. A couple guys had to leave, as you mentioned, but man, you got the whole group back for the most part because they like what they have.
Yeah, the core is still there. And one thing that I've always loved about the Niners is their linebacking core has always been top tier and elite. Obviously, do I even need to mention Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman? Even Takeo Spikes, when he was with us, he was playing pretty good football too. So yeah, I mean, we've been a force in the linebacking course. I love it. I love it. I wish Patrick Willis didn't leave as early as he did, but I completely understand why. So now we go over to the offensive side on the ball, right? We got our top two wide receivers, Ayuk and Samuel, which I saw Seahawks Twitter post something. It was like, oh, wait till Witherspoon goes up against Ayuk. I'm like, Ayuk is going to smoke Witherspoon without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, first off, usually the Seattle 49ers games are later in the year. So we know just from 4 years, probably not going to be suited out.
He's injured.
I wish the best for him. And whenever everything is perfect, Akello's a damn good player, but he gets hurt all the time, confidence issues. I'm okay. I'll take the 49ers wide receivers on that one big time.
Yeah, but there's also always the question of who's going to be the third. I just hope Jalen Hurd doesn't get injured to see if he gets a chance there. I mean, he's a big kid, can get up, get the ball. But other than that, I mean, I think the third receiver has always been a question mark. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, yeah, we don't have one, and we didn't have one last year either. A lot of people are really, really high on Kendrick Bourne, and they're sad that he's gone. And I understand that he lost the number 3 wide receiver position 3 times last year. Richie James overtook him for a couple of those spots, and even River Craycraft got out there one game ahead of Kendrick Bourne. I like Kendrick Bourne. I think he provides, a lot to what the 49ers were. But yeah, you're right. After Debo and Ayuk, there is a chasm. Yeah. Jalen Hurd is who they want to be there. Back-to-back seasons, 0 snaps, had the back issue. Then he tore his ACL in training camp. That's going to have to happen. Travis Benjamin is somebody that Kyle Shanahan has been really, really high on all the way back to his days coaching in Cleveland. He opted out last year. Well, he's back under contract. He's another guy that could fit that spot there as well. And, of course, Juwan Jennings, 7th-round pick from Tennessee, had a terrible hamstring injury early. That's what caused him to miss the whole year. You just need one of those guys to pan out. Just one. And this is a number 3 wide receiver, which the 49ers do fewer than almost any team in the NFL because we use Kyle Juszczyk and 2 tight end sets. But we saw what happened when one of those wide receivers, Ayuk or Debo, are down. The offense completely stalled. So you have to address the cornerback position, which we talked about, and the wide receiver position. I think those are the 2 least depth positions that the 49ers currently have.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, and comes down draft day, 12th pick, right? Who's going to be available? Who's there? Who's the best option there? And do you go for the best option, the best player, or do you go for the best need,
And that's the thing, right? If you look at where this draft lines up, the deepest position, it's wide receivers. So you don't have to go early, but there is a chance somebody like a Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith are going to be sitting there at the 12th pick. And you're just like, holy cow, could you imagine adding that type of firepower to this already amazing wide receiver, receiving core? If you add in Kittle, you add in the best pass catching fullback, you add in Raheem Mostert, like, good gosh, if your quarterback can't be elite in that situation, then you've got some issues. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. And especially if you look at Kyle Lynch and John Shanahan, Kyle Lynch, dyslexia strikes up there. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, since they've been here, they have spent more draft capital on the wide receiver position, and a lot of it hasn't panned out. Debo and Ayuk have, but they've had some misses. So do they go back to it and again draft more at that position? We'll have to see.
Yeah, well, and you'll have to think that they'll be available too with so many teams, quarterback needy teams, obviously in the first couple picks. Almost, I think most mock drafts are like 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10.
Don't be shocked if it's 5. Don't be shocked if it's 5.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm interested. I mean, I do think Patrick Surtain's a good player too. I mean, if he's available, and it's up in the air. But the main thing is that during free agency, we gave us the luxury of doing whatever we really want in the draft, which is amazing.
Exactly. And you look back to 2019, we didn't have that. We lost Emmanuel Sanders. We didn't replace that in free agency. Joe Staley retired, a day before the draft, which we didn't find out about. You had to address that. You traded DeForest Buckner. You had to address that. So what do we do with almost our entire draft capital? We go get Brandon Ayuk. That was a hit. We trade for Trent Williams to replace Joe Staley. That was a hit. And then you get Javon Kinlaw, where DeForest Buckner was gone. Also a hit. But this year, you're right. You can go crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. But obviously, and we know, being part of 49ers Twitter, the craziest thing is the quarterback situation. Obviously. Yeah. Jimmy G or no Jimmy G, everybody's, Deshaun either wants to play for the Niners or the Broncos. All other teams are out, but the Houston's not budging. You're hearing everything. I love Jimmy G. I'm thankful for Jimmy G. He's come up in incredibly clutch moments, albeit if he had just thrown that ball to Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl a tad bit shorter, then we probably would have been champions. But where do you stand on the QB issue, and what do you think about it going forward?
Yeah, I'm kind of in between the Jimmy haters and the Jimmy truthers. I ranked the NFL quarterbacks moving forward, 1 to 32. I had Jimmy at 13. Okay. Is he an above average? By definition, at 13, 16 is average a little bit. I don't think he's a top 5 guy. You've made it to the Super Bowl with him. My biggest concern with him is injuries, as is everybody else's. And if you listen to what Kyle Shanahan has said, and John Lynch, they want to improve the backup position. Whether you like that or not, whatever. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the quarterback week 1. Deshaun Watson, that trade's not going to take place now. I don't think there's any way you could make that trade with what's going on off the field. But even if the 49ers do trade up to get a quarterback, which I would not be against, Jimmy Garoppolo is still going to be the starter this year. Mm-hmm. You don't this isn't a team that, look at the Cincinnati Bengals last year with Joe Burrow. They had no playoff hopes. You can start that guy week 1 and you're rebuilding. 49ers are not rebuilding. You don't go pay a 32-year-old offensive tackle top of the, NFL pay scale and then put a rookie quarterback behind him. You start Jimmy. And again, this is under the idea that you trade up for a quarterback in round 1. You start Jimmy week 1. And you allow him to be your guy. And if he gets injured or if he stops producing week 5, 6, whatever, then the quarterback comes in. Remember, when we traded for Jimmy Garoppolo, he didn't play for 5 weeks. We sat him on the bench. He has to learn. Kyle Shanahan's scheme is not easy. Even Matt Ryan, who was a seasoned vet when Kyle Shanahan arrived in Atlanta, struggled his first year. Kyle Shanahan wants quarterbacks to learn the system before he throws them in the fire. And again, the championship window is open. So you keep Jimmy G, and then if you get the opportunity to draft a quarterback in the first round, I think you do it. But you look at the Alex Smith to Mahomes transition for the Chiefs. That's the blueprint.
Yeah, no, and that's another thing is I'd mentioned that to a couple of people, and I got a lot of hate about Alex Smith being a mentor to Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, dude, Alex Smith is probably one of the best professionals to ever see. You saw what he did. I mean, he went through so many offensive coordinators and head coaches here and stuck with it. And then, that's a perfect example right there. And
Mahomes said that himself, that he learned so much from Alex Smith more than he had any coach. So that's Mahomes has said that. So you're correct.
Yeah, it's crazy. But what was I going to say here? Yeah, I mean, and then we saw it, him and Kaepernick. I mean, when Kaepernick came burst off out of the scene and almost won a Super Bowl with us, and nobody knew how to stop the kid. It's amazing. Which, what I think is funny is I always kind of credit, going a little off topic here, I always kind of credit Lamar Jackson's play to us, because Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator with Cap, and he knows how to work with a running quarterback. Yep. But the only difference is Kaepernick kind of knows how to throw a little better.
A little better. I'm with you there as well. And man, what a fun time that was just incredible. The shift whenever he came in, and it just like we had a good offense, but the offense went from good to elite. And man, that year and a half was incredible, man. If only Bowman doesn't get injured, I think the story plays out very, very differently.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I still replay that option play against Green Bay in the divisional round over and over and over.
To the house, man.
to the house. Charles Woodson was like slipping on ice. It was almost like. But so with the Niners always comes probably the most competitive division in football, right? The NFC West, and everyone reloaded. I don't except for really Seattle, which is great because I can't stand Seattle. But the Rams did some big moves. The Cardinals just went berserk and decided to sign everybody under the sun. Seems like it's going to be a fun divisional race this year.
I agree with you. I think the division improved, except for Seattle. As you said, Seattle has no anything. They have no cap. They have no draft picks. They have no anything. They have Russell Wilson. And that's it. A great, strong safety. Congratulations. That's all that they have. They have no depth anywhere. And if you just look at starters across the level, they're hurting big time. Russ has to deliver. Rams, they lost a lot of key starters. But they got their quarterback. Again, no draft picks. Arizona, they signed so many people. You're right. And if this was 2015, I think they would be the leaders of the division. But you look at the people that they signed, I don't, it's almost like freaking Robin Williams coming out of the Jumanji game asking what year it is, because these are a lot of older players that we'll have to see what happens. I don't feel very confident about it. And again, I am not a Cliff Kingsbury fan whatsoever. I'm a Texas Longhorn guy, grew up in Texas. And so I've witnessed this guy go under 500 with Patrick Mahomes, barely have a winning record with Baker Mayfield. And this is all in the Big 12. I'm just not a fan.
The Big 12, and that's where his system should reign supreme, because the Big 12 defenses are not good.
They're a poorly coached team. They play players out of position. Isaiah Simmons is, case in point. They moved him all over the place. Awesome. You look at, if you go to week 1 when Mostert hit that like 80-yard touchdown, it was against Isaiah Simmons. You go to the second time we play the Cardinals, we took advantage of Isaiah Simmons for 2 more touchdowns. So I don't know. That's a poor coaching staff. It really, really is.
I mean, I wish all the best for JJ, but we may only see him like 4 games next year. But the one thing I do like about the one player I really love about the Cardinals is their safety, Budda Baker. He's a solid player.
He was my number 12th overall player that year in the draft. I wanted him so damn bad. I remember, I could go back and find it. I did the whole draft day Kevin Costner thing where I made the Post-it note, Budda Baker, no matter what. Like, I wanted him so bad. His tape at Washington was so good. He's fun to watch.
Him. I always love watching him and Kittle matchups. I just think it's great football. Kittle loves hitting. He loves hitting. They just like gel, Yep. But so, I mean, it should be a great, it should be an interesting race. Obviously, no preseason. Obviously, we're hopefully we'll have a preseason, so we'll be more prepared. I mean, obviously, that first game against the Cardinals was like our preseason last year, and how rusty we were. But and then you look at the rest of the NFC, right? Tom Brady's coming back. Drew Brees is gone. Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay. Just to mention a few of those teams, and you got some teams that are obviously hungry, are going to invest a lot of draft capital in this year's draft. NFC, we could be at the top again.
I think, if you look at teams across just the NFC, obviously the Tampa Bay Bucks, they brought back everybody, but they were a wild card team last year. They got hot at the right time. They went 11-5. Great team. There's no doubt about it. But they just went on that tier the second part of the season. Green Bay, I don't think that they really improved, but they're kind of the same team. They have Aaron Rodgers, whatever else. I think the one team that has improved is probably Washington. That defense is really, really good. They added a lot of offensive pieces. So now, they were just a really boring defensive-minded team, which I don't mind personally. I like defense. But now they've got a lot of splash on that offensive side in a very weak division. So if Fitzpatrick cannot go full Fitzpatrick, where he throws 3 interceptions a game, I really like what they have built there, which is, it's weird to say.
Yeah, well, Fitzpatrick in his start out hot for the first 5 games and then just teeter off. Yeah,
it's gonna be much watched TV with those guys, man.
I know, but that Taylor Heineke kid did play his heart out in the last game or whatever. That everyone's saying that should be the best quarterback battle of the camp. And I'm like, well, listen, you let Dwayne Haskins go, so obviously it'll be a little better. And I actually saw Dwayne Haskins play live at Ohio State in his first game, and I don't know, man. If Joe Burrow didn't break his hand, he would have beaten Dwayne Haskins for that starting spot.
I think you're right, man. And you talk about Ohio State. I know you're from Ohio, or you live in Ohio. It's the most quarterback-friendly scheme there is in college football, that and Oklahoma. And so whoever gets the ball there, they're going to be successful. And it is weird. You change, Joe Burrow, that would have been incredible because we've seen Dwayne Haskins, 0 off-field work ethic, all those different things, whatever else. But yeah, it's interesting how different it would have been.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. And then Joe Burrow goes down a completely different system and just does what he does, So then, you talk about the friendly systems. I mean, so where do you put Justin Fields then?
Okay, so this quarterback class is awesome. It is freaking awesome. I love Justin Fields' game. I really, really – if Justin Fields goes number 2 overall, that's not a reach. That is an amazing pick. That's how good he is. However, he is my quarterback 4 this year. I love him, but – there are some questionable things whenever I watch his game tape. He's part of this very QB-friendly system, and he thrived in that. But, man, 31 sacks taken in 2019. Pocket presence, he has a little bit of Cam Newton's Superman mindset where he does not care if a blitzer is coming free. He'll just stay there and he just takes so many hits. I hate that. It scares me. You look at some of the other guys, my quarterback rankings, Trevor Lawrence 1, Zach Wilson 2, Trey Lance 3, then you got Fields at 4. But the other guys' pocket presence, they just don't take hits. You keep going through all these films and, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo syndrome in the back of my head, I want somebody that's not going to be taking all these hits. And I can't find plays where Justin Fields throws the ball away. I can't find plays where he, picks up that hot route. Pro Football Focus tracks the average time to release. He is the only quarterback that's draft eligible or that's draft considerable past 3 seconds. 3.11 seconds is his average time of release. That's problematic.
Like Tim Tebow numbers now. Tim Tebow probably was like 5, something like that.
Yeah, just his windup alone took that long, right?
Yeah.
And so again, what translates to the NFL? And that's kind of one of the things that I want to see is that's got to improve. It's got to improve. Yeah,
well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Justin Fields, one of the main reasons he wanted to come to Ohio State was because he wanted to be in a more professional setting with Coach Ryan Day and stuff. So possibly his mindset has improved, but like you said, the mindset is one thing and then actually executing it out on the field is another. It's interesting you got Trey Lance, because Trey Lance is someone who I think is still very underlooked, even though he's still getting a lot of stuff because nobody really saw him play. I think he sat out this year, didn't he, or something like that?
No, well, his conference postponed all play to the spring. Oh. So because of COVID. So it wasn't his fault. They just played last week. And they got smoked. So you're talking about a team that goes undefeated with him. He leaves. He's the only one to leave. Him and Dylan Reduns. And now they're losing games. And so, no, Trey Lance, I'm telling you right now, you watch his film and you can talk about North Dakota State, whatever else, don't care. He's so damn good. One, it's the most complicated offensive system of any of the top 5 quarterbacks. It's not close. He calls all of his own protections at the line. He gets to make all of his own audibles. Like is smart as hell. Checks down. It's very similar to the 49ers offense. Lots of jet sweeps, pro style, turns his back to the defense on play action. He has an absolute cannon. And again, you're talking about somebody who doesn't lose games and doesn't turn the ball over. He didn't have any interceptions none for a whole year. I like this kid. He's only 20 years old. He has the strongest arm in the draft, even though I don't put a lot of stock in that, but he could throw it out of the damn gym. I really, really like this guy. I go through and I do player comps for all these, different players, and Daniel Jeremiah, one of my favorite follows, I think he knocked it out of the park. It's Steve McNair. That's who this kid is. NFL body type, arm type. In another world, he would have been a defensive end. That's how athletic and built he is. And again, 20 years old. He's got it all, man.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned his system, because a lot of people don't really know about that. But Carson Wentz went through the same thing, and now it's like North Dakota State, even though their FCS is almost could be like a breeding ground for quarterbacks coming up in the near future. They may have that one every couple of years. Let's talk about Zach Wilson though, because Zach Wilson, everyone knocks on his 3/4 angle release.
Yeah, it's a shot put / shortstop kind of motion.
That's pretty much what it is. What did you see from him, and do you think he would really be a great fit for the Niners?
I think he'd fit every team in the NFL. I truly believe that. This kid is weird as hell. Because you'll watch his film and it's like backyard football. He'll have a clean pocket. He had a great offensive line at BYU. He'll just scramble out because he's going to mirror the route that the wide receiver is making, and he loves to be on the move. He doesn't like to sit still. And he'll have a wide open receiver 10, 15 yards down the field. He'll pass it every damn time. This guy, he's like a cutthroat, man. He's dangerous. You know what? When I'm breaking down his film, I type like how I feel during each play. So I'm just typing as I'm watching film. I type dangerous like 10 times a game. He's dangerous. Like, he goes for the kill all the freaking time. My player comparison for him is Jay Cutler, but with Captain America mindset. So like that's who. So
the best version of Jay Cutler.
Exactly correct. He's not eating hot dogs on the sidelines. He's not smoking cigarettes at halftime. That's not what he's doing. Awesome kid. His story's incredible. Family raised in the Utah system. Dad played for Utah, went to BYU because he wanted to play quarterback and compete as a true freshman. Took him a long time to catch up. You look at his first 2 years as a starter, he was bad. He almost lost his starting job going into this year, but then just exploded. 32 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He had the 7th best all-time passer rating in college football history, 136.3. The dude has whatever it is. He could still increase his NFL body. He's not nearly as developed physically as, Fields, Lawrence, or Trey Lance, but he can still add some weight for sure. Not near as mobile, but he moves not to gain rushing yards. He moves because he can throw on the run as well as anybody I've ever graded.
Yeah, no, but he's not afraid to tuck the rock down though and really go for it either, which I thought was pretty cool. Obviously that game against Coastal Carolina that ending was interesting.
Yeah. And
very
again,
interesting.
So you brought up, okay, how do they play against better teams? We don't see that with any of these teams, whether it's Justin Fields. Justin Fields played one opponent in his entire college career that was better than his team, and that was Alabama. That was it. You could say the same thing about Clemson. Nobody played up. And if you look at Zach Wilson versus Power 5 teams, he went 2-3, won 2 games, lost 3, with 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So the question's there, but it translates so well what you see him do repetitively on film. And so because of that, the quarterback position is so important. Are all 5 of these quarterbacks going to be successful? No. NFL, history has taught us it's right around 50%. But you can see the pathway for these guys to be successful. And that's why I just love Zach Wilson. And I think most teams will have him at number 2. I'd probably say 25 teams will have Zach Wilson as their number 2 quarterback.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And then I would put, I mean, Trey Lance is right behind him. And it's not even that far of a margin as we were just talking about, to be honest. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is ahead by a good amount, but then everybody else is pretty damn close to each other. So going with your ideal mock draft, if you will, in terms of positioning, what would you, and I know you're hosting like a 49ers Rush like event. I think it's tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, we do a Google Hangout, a Zoom Hangout once a month for my Patreon subscribers, where we do a live mock draft and we do some trivia and we just kind of hang out and do like once a month we do it. It's an absolute blast. So yeah, if somebody's interested, patreon.com 49ers Rush podcast, you can join us over there and I'll send you all the details, but we do that once a month.
Yeah, awesome. So like you're going to be doing that tomorrow. So right now, in terms of positioning, where would you like to see, provided we don't trade any draft capital, we're just going with what we have, what would you like to see at the 12th pick, and who would you like to see going on what position, so on and so forth?
So ideally, you want a quarterback fall into 12, not name Mac Jones. I like Mac Jones. I don't mind if we trade back a couple
Mac
spots.
Jones.
If we trade back and get Mac Jones, I'm okay with that. But I don't want to stay at 12 and get him. I wouldn't be upset, but that's not ideal. Part of me, I really want the best offensive line in football. If Rashawn Slater or Elijah Vera Tucker fall to number 12, I think Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be there. I freaking want that. I want the best offensive line in football. And just you team that up with, both those guys would start right away at that right guard spot. And so you'd be solid all the way across. Obviously, Mike McGlinchey's got some questions in pass protection, but he was the highest graded run blocker in the NFL last year. So Mike McGlinchey can block in the run game. He just got to increase in the pass game, whatever.
Sorry to cut you off real fast, but no. I think he slimmed down. I think that was a big part of the reasoning.
He needs to gain some more weight.
Yeah,
he needs to gain some more
exactly.
weight. He needs to play with better leverage. He's tall, and he kind of sometimes he stands straight up and he gets run over. But you get one of those guys, and this run game with the defense that we're bringing back, holy freaking cow! And another little nugget I'll throw out there: every single first selection that this front office has made has been on an offense or defensive lineman. I want that to continue.
Yeah, what was it, like 5 straight years defensive line?
5 straight, man.
5 straight years.
Mike McGlinchey was in there for 1, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But I mean, it's defensive line. Yeah, so obviously you got a quarterback there, or maybe Rashawn Slater, and then obviously anything is really up in the air. But would you like to get a cornerback and then with a pick after, or?
Yeah, I like the cornerback position needs to be addressed. There's no doubt about that. J.C. Horn is a very possible. He's just a perfect scheme fit for what we do. Perfect. And the coaching connections are bigger this year than ever before. And the 49ers are really big on that, right? We've drafted Kinlaw and Debo from South Carolina because they trust Will Muschamp. Well, Muschamp's out, but he coached, J.C. Horn. So you have that connection there. I like Patrick Surtain. The coaching connection isn't there. They do not like drafting players from Alabama. I think that they would, but if it's close, they're going away from Alabama after they got burned with Reuben Foster. And it's even been said
big time.
The coaching staff there was not truthful with John Lynch. And John Lynch has mentioned that publicly several times. So I like Surtain. I think he's a hell of a corner. I have J.C. Horn graded higher. But we'll have to see there. There's a lot of good corners that fit our scheme, though. And the 49ers could go outside corner or nickel just fine and make, but there's a lot. Both the Georgia corners are good. Efetu Melifonwu, I really, really like. Paulson Adebo from Stanford. There's just so many guys that you can get in the second, third round at that corner position that fit what we run.
Yeah, it's so deep, like you just said. I was looking at J.C. Horn's Twitter. He's so petty, and I love it.
It's beautiful, man.
He's hilarious. He's so funny. But I know we're set at tight end, obviously, with Kittle and stuff. But everyone's saying that Kyle Pitts could be the most athletic guy in this draft. Where do you think he falls? I mean, obviously top 10, but
I don't see how he makes it out of this top 10 at all, because here's the deal. So like when you're comparing Kyle Pitts, first off, you see TE next to him, you got to delete that. He's a wide receiver plus. If he never put his hand to the ground and was just your wideout, he's Alshon Jeffrey on steroids in his prime. That's just who he is. He could be a standalone wide receiver just fine. He blocks fairly well. It's not Kittle and it's not consistent, but sometimes you'll see him get a fire under his butt. He blocks very, very well. It's just not very often. But because the tight end position in this draft is very weak, it's bad. And then you compare that to the wide receiver position, which is absolutely loaded. So if you're a team that needs a wide receiver, you could get Kyle Pitts to fix that need, or if you need a tight end, he'll fix that need as well. Whereas if you go with somebody like a Jalen Waddle, who I love, Kyle Pitts can fill those roles for you. I know they're completely different players, but man, you go watch that Florida-South Carolina game and J.C. Horn versus Kyle Pitts and man coverage, it's must-see TV. Those guys are throwing each other on the ground. Pitts is making plays over Horn. Horn, it's incredible. Those two guys belong. Excuse me. I can't find a way where Pitts makes it past pick 8. I just can't. If he's there at 12, hell yeah, the 49ers should take him. He would be the tight end 2/wide receiver 3, and he would be on the field all the freaking time. I would love that pick. I don't think it'd happen, but I would love it.
Yeah. I mean, that would be amazing. You never know really how the draft shapes out, which is obviously the beauty of the NFL draft. But I do want to finish off with some other moves, though, because interesting, Carson Wentz to the Colts, right? And they have a good defense. They just really needed someone not old like Phillip Rivers, who just has a slingshot of an arm. But Carson Wentz has a chance here to really kind of bring his career back to where it was when he was an MVP candidate.
Man, things could not have gone better. Like, he left one of the most toxic, talent voided skill positions in the NFL and goes to one of the best. They just re-signed T.Y. Hilton for like $10 million a year. They were a top 10 offense last year, and Jonathan Taylor didn't come on till the second half.
That's true.
And I'm telling you what, man, Carson Wentz, I don't know how he lucked into this position. He's got everything built around him, an amazing, much better coaching staff than what he had in Philly. Carson Wentz is going to be successful. He really, really is. The Colts, I'm a closet Colts fan. I think it's 49ers. You kind of have to be with DeForest Buckner over there. Like, yeah. you love that guy. How do you not root for him? I think the Colts are going to do some serious damage in that division. I really like the Colts. I have them winning that division for sure right now.
Yeah, I was very upset at Phillip Rivers last year because I had T.Y. Hilton on my fantasy team, and he never threw to T.Y. ever. He would always throw to like his Naheem Hines or one of his like 5 tight ends, and I was just like, all right, you're gone.
Yep.
No, but yeah, I mean, like you said, I love DeForest Buckner. Understand the move, obviously, but Eric Armstead has got to get it back up. I'm sorry, but
the problem with Eric Armstead in 2020 was he was still an elite run defender. I think he's still a top 5 run defender in the NFL at the edge position. The problem is a lot of his success whenever he had that 10-sack season was from the inside. Well, we had so many injuries at the defensive end position. Armstead played the fewest snaps inside as he has his entire career, and that hurt him because he's not an outside edge rusher. That's just not what he is. Outside on base downs, inside on pass rushing downs. Now you bring in Sam, you bring back Jordan Willis, Nick Bosa's healthy. He should be allowed to do that again. Yeah, DJ. I mean, there's so many guys there that can play the edge to allow Armstead to play where he should against, pass rushing downs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And obviously he wasn't he didn't have as big as an impact coming out of Oregon as Buckner did, but
Buckner's a better player.
Yeah, Buckner. Oh, much better. I mean, that's why we got a 1st-round pick for the guy. I mean, but yeah, like you said, in the right position, he'd flourish. And now with Nick Bosa leading that line and Oh, I'm just so excited, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait already. And with a full camp and everything, I think we'll be just fine. I also am really excited to see, I'm really happy for D'Amico Ryans too. I know we touched on this briefly, but him just getting promoted to DC.
One of the coolest players, coaches, humans that you're ever going to find. And you'll never find anybody say anything bad about him. And I hate Alabama with everything that I have, but what an awesome human being. It's pretty cool to have people to root for. And I think I said something like this earlier, but like to root for who they are on and off the field. We had that with Robert Saleh, and I'm happy for him. And man, D'Amico Ryans, just the promoting from within, the character, the culture that this staff has. Look at all the free agents. You remember when Robert Saleh got the Jets job and they had the most cap space in the NFL? Yep. He's going to take all our players. Who'd he get? Tevin Coleman? That's it? Oh my gosh, man. I love this team. I love the locker room. I love the way it's built.
Yeah. And I think just from players past too, McGlinchey's now a force in the locker room because he had Staley to go off of, and him and Staley always were going at it and all this other stuff, which I loved. You know what? Now that I think about Joe Staley, I wish he did the Joe Show a lot more often. You remember the Joe Show?
Oh, heck yes. It was incredible.
It was the best thing ever. I always have that theme song stuck in my head. But yeah, it's just going to be an exciting football season. Hopefully the injuries stay off. But John, I really appreciate you coming on, talking some 49ers football with me. Your knowledge is obviously incredible, and definitely go check him out on Patreon tomorrow if you're watching or listening, and it'll be a good time over there, won't it, John?
It will, man. We always have a good time. And Keenan, really appreciate you, man. Really big fan of your show and your work. Hell of a good job. And man, just appreciate it. A lot of fun talking football.
Go Niners, baby.